June 18, 2023. 5 people board a 22-foot-long submersible named Titan. Their destination? The wreck of the Titanic lying over 12,500 feet below the surface of the Atlantic. They are wealthy tourists, adventurers, and a pilot lured by the promise of the experience few have ever had. A journey into the abyss. But within hours of their descent, the Titan would vanish without a trace. And what followed was a surge that gripped the world in horror. The Titanic. A name that has lived in both tragedy and legend for over a century. When it sank in April 1912, the world stood in disbelief. The largest ship of its time, declared unsinkable, had been claimed by the merciless ocean. More than 1,500 souls were lost, swallowed by the abyss. Over 100 years later, the wreck of the Titanic became a site of fascination, a relic of human ambition and hubris. Documentaries, books, expeditions, each one unveiling a haunting new detail about the ship's final moments. And for some, seeing it firsthand was the ultimate experience, an opportunity to come face to face with history. In 1985, oceanographer Robert Ballard discovered the wreck, lying eerily on the seafloor, split in two. The world marveled at this ghost really remains. Over the years, deep-sea explorers like James Cameron and Paul-Henri Nargeolet made repeated journeys, documenting its decay, preserving its legacy. But unlike them, OceanGate's Titan submersible wasn't about research. It was about tourism. Stockton Rush, OceanGate's CEO, envisioned a new age of deep-sea exploration. But not for scientists, rather for the wealthy elite. At a cost of $2,100,000 per seat, passengers could descend into the deep, glimpse the Titanic with their own eyes, and return with a story few could ever tell. But this wasn't a time-tested submarine built for safety. This was an experimental vessel, unregulated and uncertified. Unlike traditional deep-sea submersibles, which rely on proven materials like steel or titanium, Titan was built from carbon fiber, a material never before used at such depths. Experts had warned that repeated dives would cause microscopic fractures, gradually weakening the hull with each descent. Yet, OceanGate dismissed these concerns. Titan had no emergency escape hatch. It was bolted shut from the outside, meaning that if anything went wrong, there was no way out. Inside, passengers sat in a cramped space the size of a minivan, controlled by a modified gaming controller. There were no seats, no backup systems, and no external verification that it was even safe to dive. The morning of June 18, 2023, Titan is launched from the support vessel Polar Prince, its passengers eager with anticipation. They include Stockton Rush himself, British billionaire Hamish Harding, Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood, and his 19-year-old Suleiman, and Titanic expert Paul-Henri Nargeolet. For nearly 2 hours, the sub descends. Darkness surrounds them. The surface disappears. At 10:47 a.m., silence. Communications are lost. On the surface, there's confusion, then concern, then dread. A massive search begins. Naval ships, planes, deep-sea robots, all racing against time. If the sub is still intact, the passengers have only 4 days of oxygen left. Theories spread like wildfire. Could they be trapped in the wreckage? Could they have lost power, drifting helplessly into the abyss? Or worse, were they still alive, listening to the relentless creaks of the hull under unimaginable pressure, waiting for a rescue that would never come? Then, 4 days later, a deep sea robotic vehicle finds the answer: a debris field. The Titan hadn't sunk slowly, it had imploded. In less than a millisecond, the pressure, 380 times greater than at sea level, crashed Titan like an aluminum can. The passengers never knew what happened. The moment the hull failed, their bodies were vaporized by the sheer force. The sub didn't collapse. It ceased to exist. How could this have happened? The truth was disturbing. Titan was doomed from the start. Experts had warned that carbon fiber wasn't suitable for deep sea pressure, that repeated dives weakened the hull, that disaster was inevitable. But a company ignored them. James Cameron, one of the world's most experienced deep sea explorers, has seen firsthand what pressure could do. His own sub, Deep Sea Challenger, had been carefully engineered and tested. Titan, by contrast, relied on unproven materials, rushed engineering, and faith. And faith is not a survival strategy in the deep. On board Titan, there were 5 souls. Each had placed their trust in a vessel that defied the warnings of science and history. Each had dreamed of touching the past, of witnessing the Titanic with their own eyes. But the ocean is merciless. It does not forgive human arrogance. More than a century earlier, the Titanic met its own fate in these waters. It was a ship of dreams, a marvel of engineering, declared unsinkable. But nature does not care for human confidence. The iceberg didn't hesitate. The Atlantic didn't show mercy. Titan was meant to take people to see the tragic monument. Instead, it became a part of it, another story of ambition colliding with reality. The Titan story is a cautionary tale, not just about technology, but about arrogance. The same arrogance that once called the Titanic unsinkable and sent it to the bottom of the ocean. The abyss does not forgive mistakes. It only takes and never gives back. But the Titan disaster raises deeper questions. Why are we so drawn to the unknown? Why do we risk everything to touch history, to push beyond our limits? Perhaps it is human nature. The same force that drives explorers to space, climbers to Everest, divers into the deepest trenches of the earth. We are small in this universe, insignificant against the vastness of the ocean and the emptiness of space. And yet, we keep reaching. Some mysteries lie at the bottom of the ocean for a reason. Some doors should never be opened, and some journeys should never be taken. This is all I had for today. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.